morning. Welcome to Have I Got News for You? I'm Jennifer Saunders. And in the news this week, after another week of upsetting revelations about the breakup of their relationship with the Sussexes, William and Kate relieved some of their stress on Nicholas Witchell. Chris Grayling begins to regret his decision to closely supervise the building work at his constituency office. And during a top-secret mission for MI5, one undercover agent fears his cover may have been blown. On Ian's team tonight is a journalist and political advisor who's just become a presenter on Rupert Murdoch's latest venture, Times Radio. So let's hope she's not too daunted by our massive audience here of 40 people. Please welcome Aisha Hazarika. And with Paul tonight is a comedian who provides the voices for many of the puppets on the new Spitting Image on BritBox, or as I like to call it, Notflix. Please welcome Matt Ford. And we begin with the bigger news stories of the week. Paul and Matt, have a look at this.
Hashtag third tier. Robert Jenrick going for a walk with all his closest mates. Is that 65 million quid? Can we have that?
And some people running.
Pub's just opened in Salford.
Yes, this is the news that Manchester was placed into Tier 3 lockdown this week after a huge row between Andy Burnham and Boris. What were they squabbling over?
Money. And this week has really demonstrated that his attitude to negotiations is just that you just walk away at any time. Basically, Boris Johnson will pull out of anything that isn't a woman. After a 10-day standoff, it transpired that Burnham wanted £90 million for Manchester and was offered £55 million. Burnham then wanted £75 million. The government offered £60 million. Burnham then wanted £65 million. It's like an episode of Dickinson's Real Deal. And Manchester didn't get the deal it wanted. Let's see how unhappy Andy Burnham was with that decision.
Oh. I think the country's sort of fallen in love with Andy Burnham a bit. He's like
really?
He's like the new hot.
Is this just you?
No, it is other people as well.
Name them.
My friend Susan.
Oh, you have.
Your friend Susan?
My friend Susan. In fact, we think he's a bit like the new hot priest in Fleabag. Yeah, one person clapping. Thank you. You know what I'm saying.
That was sympathy.
Yeah. That was Andy Burnham.
I mean, on that note, what did Andy Burnham have to deny using?
His lovely long eyelashes?
Well, yes, in fact, because after an appearance on Question Time, speculation was rife that the former government minister wore eyeliner. He told a national newspaper, I had an email in my constituency office saying, what mascara do you use? I can only say, hand on heart, that I have never, ever worn mascara. Neither have I, Andy, never.
It is quite difficult to follow at the moment because some of the Labour mayors have taken the deal and then he didn't take the deal and then the national leadership says, you can't have this three-tier thing. I mean, it's terrible. People are losing jobs. So what we need is a total lockdown. Please, don't think I'm being gloomy. It isn't total lockdown. It's just total local lockdown. And don't laugh, because you'll be in Tier 3 next week.
True.
Also, what I loved is in Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon's had to go that bit further. She's had to bring in 5 tiers because she's got to be better than the English. She's got to have 2 more tiers and they're all made of Dundee cake.
All the nations have done this. Wales branded theirs differently. They were having a fire break, which is like a cigarette break, but a lot bigger.
You should have just done a deal with Manchester and then 9 months later just gone, actually, I don't like that deal anymore. I think I'm just going to turn my back on it.
And see if they came back again, yeah.
There we go.
Boris Johnson looks at the North the same way he looks at his own children. He feels that there should be a relationship there, but he doesn't know exactly what.
Or where it is. Why has Labour been criticised this week for their behaviour?
Well, Keir Starmer's called for a national lockdown, despite Jonathan Van Tam saying that the science doesn't support it. And it's just nice to see Keir Starmer depart from what his whole master plan had been so far, which is basically to get up in Parliament and say, I will support the government when they get it right, but I will disagree with the government when they get it wrong.
Is that an impression?
That is an impression, yeah.
No, it's a particular Labour MP, Angela Rayner, was told off in the Commons
yeah.
for her choice of words. Let's have a look at Angela.
That's characterised their hindsight-heavy behaviour. But, excuse me, did the Honourable Lady just call me scum?
Order! 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 From the front bench, we will not have remarks like that. Not under any circumstances, no matter how heartfelt it might be. Not at all.
I saw that intervention and I thought, does that mean that on the back bench everyone can shout, scum, 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 and it's not even heartfelt, scum, 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 scum.
But would we have heard it if he hadn't have drawn our attention to it?
I shouldn't think that many people were watching.
No.
I mean, it's up there with Deal or No Deal. Is that a programme?
No, that's a government strategy.
Why has the subject of nationalising children been discussed in Parliament this week?
Another MP said paying for meals for kids who can't afford meals during half-term is the equivalent of nationalising children. And being seen to be not in favour of feeding children, it's never a good look. And it makes you look a bit like scum.
But also the Tory MP that made that point about nationalising children then went on to say we've got to teach this country about parental responsibility, just like wait till he finds out about who his Prime Minister is.
Downing Street has expressed concern over Marcus Rashford's campaign, as they were certain the MBE would shut him up. So in the spirit of Andy Burnham's frown,
Yes.
who wants to play a quick game of who's got this frown and why are they down?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Here's
Absolutely.
your first one.
Theresa May, and she's down because she was annoyed with what Michael Gove was saying.
Oh, that's a good one. Let's have a look.
The second thing I would say is that there are many, many areas in which we can cooperate more effectively to safeguard our borders outside the European Union than we ever could inside, through a variety of methods and arrangements open to us, open to Border Force and open to our security and intelligence services. We can intensify the security.
According to the Mail, Theresa May recoiled like she'd found an ancient kipper in the fridge.
It must be incredibly galling.
It's very cool.
Be the Prime Minister who Boris rebelled against. Thinking, they thought I would do a worse job than this.
I was more worried about her buttons on her blouse. I'm sorry, I was obsessed with that. Actually, while we're here, should we have a little look at the face of Michael Gove, created through the medium of lunch foods? That isn't Michael Gove. That is actually lunch foods.
But is it his face?
It might be the behind view, you never know.
Back to the game. Who's that?
Angela Merkel.
It is.
Let's go and scheme with Sir Ian McKellen.
No.
Why has she got a frown on?
Why has she got a frown? I think that's just a natural resting pose of her face.
Say resting bitch face.
She's wondering why she's on holiday with Sir Ian McKellen.
Here's the next one. Who's got this frown and why are they down? Who's that?
Alf Garnett.
It's actually a Brazilian politician called Chico Rodriguez. And what was he caught doing this week?
Smuggling cocaine in his moustache.
Smuggling something.
In his moustache?
No.
Oh,
Much worse.
much worse than in it.
Smuggling people?
No.
Is it restoration furniture? Has he got a tall boy up his pants?
Police raided Chico's home and found cash hidden between his buttocks.
Dirty money.
Definitely. Police became suspicious of Chico after he went to the toilet and came back with bulging trousers. If you see me walking awkwardly later, it's just I'm taking my fee home, in cash. Next, who's got this frown and why are they down?
Meghan Markle.
No. Begins with M and rhymes with Lala.
Oh, is it Malala?
Oh, Malala.
Yes,
Malala.
Malala. Why is she unhappy this week?
She's unhappy because people are cross with her because she's got a friend who's a Tory.
Yeah.
A Nobel Peace Prize winner. If she makes friends with the Tories, she should address them as scum! Scum, scum, scum. Do you want to come and have a drink? Scum! Anyway, she's a student. She's made a friend.
Yeah.
And therefore, everybody has decided they should pile onto her. Is it mostly Twitter? Is it social media?
It is.
Oh, God.
One tweet read, "Not the least bit surprised Malala is a Tory. Had my doubts about her early. Always suspected she was a disingenuous careerist." That's appalling. Right, that is actually the end of the game. The increased lockdown restrictions have been unexpected good news for who?
Is it no one?
It's actually couples. According to a new Open University study this week, 26% of adults in a relationship said that it had improved during lockdown, whilst 63% had said there was no change, and the other 11% told the truth.
Shall we do a quick poll? You two. Better, worse? It proves my point, they're not even together.
In other coronavirus news, what new tactic has Boris displayed this week?
He's turned up to things.
Apparently he told a crowd that a coronavirus vaccine may never materialise.
Oh, that's the first positive thing I've heard. If he says it's not going to happen, it clearly will.
Sources told The Times that Boris was deliberately glum because he doesn't want to overpromise and underdeliver. Imagine what that would be like. Also this week, Tony Blair was caught out not quarantining after a trip to the US. Matt, what's his problem?
Well, I think he said, look, I acted on the intelligence that I had at the time. Sadly, it was Matt Hancock's intelligence, and I made an awful mistake.
Is that an impression?
Fuck, yes! Oh,
No, I couldn't resist that. Sorry. It was a very, very good impression.
Yes, but who of?
of?
Is it Tommy Cooper?
And finally, how are they going to comply with restrictions on I'm a Celebrity? Anybody, any idea?
Oh, this is where they're filming in Wales, aren't they? Going to a castle.
The crew are going to be kitted out with proximity monitors, which means they can't come within 2 metres of each other without it buzzing and flashing and reminding them to stay away. God, just think how that could have saved the BBC in the 70s. Yes, this is the enforced lockdown of Manchester and disagreements over financial support. The government's latest financial package offers 2/3 salary to anyone unable to do their job. So Dido Harding's going to be raking it in. The government is looking to aid travel to America with an enhanced testing scheme. According to Grant Shapps, we're talking to US Homeland Security. We'd like to get trials set up, at which point Prince Andrew started sweating for the first time in ages. Ian and Aisha, take a look at this.
Someone died, Steve.
Yeah.
Have you just asked her out?
Ian and Aisha, take a look at this.
Yes. It's Joe Biden. He's pointing. That's my wife, just in case anyone worried. Look, he's fit. He's young.
Running.
He's there.
moving.
His finger points.
Oh, embarrassing things that should be deleted. More embarrassing things that should be deleted.
The New York Post ran this story about Joe Biden's son, trying to get his father to have a meeting with a Ukrainian, saying that Biden's son was trying to peddle his influence and it was all undue. And the son has said it was probably a misjudgment being on the board of the Ukrainian gas company when my father was vice president. But there's nothing in it, which means that someone like Trump can just pile in.
Yeah.
So you get the mix of untrue and this bit's a little bit true.
Yeah.
And it corrupts everything. This story should have gone mad on Twitter and Facebook. But because, and I'm just going to do a Republican bit here, because the social media elite are all, left-wing libtards, like Clegg, they tried to shut the story down.
Okay.
And it turned into a massive row about this story, which originated on a second-hand computer shop with someone saying this is Biden's son's computer.
Mac Isaac, who was the man who actually was handed, the repairman who was handed the computer, there was a little weak link in his evidence. He says the man who handed the laptop in was Hunter Biden, although he can't be 100% sure. himself because he is legally blind. I mean, that's the perfect combination. He fixes your laptop but can't look at your history.
Amazing.
I just feel that this is a desperate attempt by Donald Trump to just try and smear everybody possible because the polls are really tightening and it looks like Joe Biden is doing pretty well.
The Clegg involvement's interesting because Clegg is Facebook's vice president, always the bridesmaid, and he he's accused of interfering now in the US election, and he's got form because he interfered in the 2010 election to make sure that the Tories won.
Now, what has Nick Clegg actually got to do with it? Got to do with it. Sorry, it became a song. What's Nick Clegg got to do with it?
What's Nick Clegg but a second-hand emotion?
Yes.
That is a very good description of Nick Clegg.
What has he got to do with it?
Well, I think Matt's explained he's vice president of...
Yeah. Well, he's head of Nebulous Bollocks at Facebook. And it's not just Facebook who've been trying to stop people looking at the story. Who else has been involved?
Rudolph Giuliani?
Yes, this
Possibly,
is the
yes.
follow-up, though. This is much better, the counter-smear.
Is this the new Borat film where he has duped a large number of Trump associates into talking to him, including Rudy Giuliani? And there's some quite compromising footage of him lying on a hotel bed.
There he is. Actually looks like a corpse. I mean...
Giuliani with the recording thing in his pants. Come on.
What was his line? I was just lying back in the bed and fumbling with my undercrackers, just trying to find the microphone.
Yeah,
It's probably because he talks out of his arse.
Also, Kayleigh McEnany, Trump's press secretary, was blocked from Twitter for trying to link to the New York Post piece. She said, "They essentially have me at gunpoint. This is not the American way." Who admitted that this was a bad thing?
Is this Zuckerberg?
This guy's called Jack Dorsey.
Oh.
And he said it's unacceptable to block URL sharing via tweet or DM with zero context. I don't know what the fuck that means. Anyway, Trump's been having his own computer problems this week. A Dutch security expert claimed to have hacked his Twitter account as a test. Anyone want to guess what he said the password was?
burgers.
President, White House, Trump.
Not bad. It's
Bleach.
MAGA 2020 exclamation mark. That's the password.
Yeah, just try that at home with a capital M and that'll probably work now.
What did one young Trump supporter do at a rally this week?
Celebrate his 100th birthday.
That's very good. No, he came dressed as Trump. Here he is.
Oh, no. He's
God,
not orange
that's
enough.
depressing.
He's not orange enough.
He's
he
not
needs to
orange
be
enough.
covered in what's it dust.
What's Trump threatened to do if he loses the election?
He's going to go to live in another country.
I'm not going to feel so good if I lose. Maybe I'll have to leave the country. I don't know. Aisha, where do you think he's threatening to go?
Not Scotland.
Scotland, yeah.
He's coming your way.
No!
He's coming for you.
Close the borders immediately.
That great big wobbly golfing arse is coming your way. It's coming. He's going to probably go to the new golf course in Aberdeenshire.
It actually makes sense in wanting to go to Scotland. He's got Scottish ancestry, he owns property there, he's given his family key political positions and he drove around while infected with COVID, so he's probably going to join the SNP.
Right, it's Halloween soon, unfortunately. But how is Trump going to feature in the celebrations? What looks like a Trump?
Pumpkin.
A pumpkin, yes, well done. He'll be on the doorsteps and front windows all over America. Have a look.
Brilliant.
Right, moving on. This is my favourite bit now. Would someone like to see some muscly men covered in baby oil?
Yes.
Yes, we would, please. It's the Egyptian police having a fun day out. Let's have a look at the eye-popping footage. They've run out of petrol, obviously. You bring the spare tyres.
You don't do this at Hendon Police College.
Is this Mad Max 4?
There seem to be half-painted faces. It's that extra... Oh, look.
Sorry, what's this for again?
Royal...
This is just for Jennifer.
Yes, it's really just... They just did it for me. This is the US election and the alleged scandal over Hunter Biden's emails. One of the Facebook executives involved in the row is Sir Nick Clegg. He was a beacon of hope during the COVID pandemic. I mean, after all, in 2010, the country was in the feverish grip of Cleggmania. But we all very quickly developed herd immunity. Also this week, Donald Trump was criticised for having a Chinese bank account. If he really wants to avoid serious scrutiny of his financial records, then he should keep them somewhere Democrats will never look, like Hunter Biden's hard drive. The last presidential debate made use of a mute button. We're actually recording this before the debate, but I confidently predict what happened. A geriatric arsehole. So, on to round 2, which is the one-armed bandit of news. Fingers on buzzers, teams. Here's the first one.
This is the Russians were planning to hack the Tokyo Olympics. It feels like Vladimir Putin's been caught perving on a volleyball team and has had to retrofit some sort of alibi going, we always spy on volleyball. This is part of big Russia plan to hack Olympics. I always hack Olympics with trousers around ankles.
How do you... I mean, I'm no computer expert. How you hack the Olympics? Well, the floppy discus?
I know that.
The Times reported the Russian plan was to hack into the 2020 Olympic website and stop fans printing tickets for events, thereby leaving empty seats at the Games. They tried a similar thing with the annual Lib Dem conference, but nobody noticed. Sticking with sport, what has this man, Ezeldin Bahadur, become the oldest person to do?
Play a professional game of football. He's 74 years old. He's the oldest registered professional footballer in the world. Great at dribbling. And he has to wear very long shorts because otherwise you'd see his balls.
I think we've got a clip of him, I think, playing his game. Here he is. Every time a teammate kicks in the ball, it's a potential hospital pass. Who is this, and what's he been doing on open water?
He's got a boat, and he's rowing it about for charity.
Yeah, this is Michael Stanley.
Yeah.
And he's a retired army major who's been sailing his own homemade boat down the Chichester Canal for charity. Here he is. Michael told The Guardian, I got 2 sheets of corrugated iron, put them together and tried to make them float. Chris Grayling will be trying to sign him up to help with the no-deal Brexit.
No, there's a whole load of old people now who decided if Colonel Tom could do it, then they can.
Yeah.
There's people walking up and down their gardens, people rowing up and down canals.
Do you want to see what happened when Eamon Holmes tried to interview him this week? Let's have a look.
The Titanic is absolutely fabulous, Major Stanley. Tell us where the idea came from and what it actually consists of.
Major, maybe you should come back a bit because you're getting further and further away from us. Just maybe you come back to the camera. Will be great.
Okay.
Okay, good man.
Also this week, a Royal Navy submarine officer was sent home after reportedly turning up drunk when he was meant to be in command of Britain's Trident missiles. According to one colleague, he was not in a fit state to be in charge of nuclear weapons. Mind you, is this man?
That was a good story. The submarine captain, he was the weapons officer, the man who's called
was
drunk.
he?
Yeah, and the submarine was called HMS Vigilant.
Fingers on buzzers, teams. Here's the next one. Oh, sorry, I forgot to pull the... Sorry. Just
What are you doing, pulling pints?
Oh, that's quite nice. I could work in a Wetherspoon.
Is this about the labelling of vegetarian food?
Yes.
So what they're basically saying is that a vegetarian sausage can only be called a vegetarian sausage if it's actually made from vegetarians.
Yes, it's the big question on everyone's lips in the EU this week. They're trying to ban vegetarian products from using the words sausage, meat, or burger. Why can't you have a vegetarian sausage?
Well, vegetarian sausages don't quite recreate the succulent texture of eyelids and testicles.
OK, yes.
I think the word sausage is quite phallic. So I think it's like a veggie version would have to be like a sort of a bean banger or like a lentil horn. Or
Well, they're
like
calling
a
them
soya
tube.
snake or something. Yeah, or a veggie tube or something like
Tubes that not do it for you?
that. A tube isn't phallic.
I mean, this week they are trying...
You want to try the Piccadilly line?
They are trying to ban the word. What were attendees to a recent paleontology meeting banned from talking about?
Jurassic Park.
Apparently they were at a conference and the software, which included a pre-packaged naughty word filter. Meant that no one could type any questions containing the word bone, which sort of limits you if you're a paleontologist.
It does,
I imagine.
really.
Yeah.
Yes. They were also prevented from using the words crack, stroke, and my favourite, flange. Paleontologists filthy.
Does that have a double meaning then? Because all the others, at least, you would stroke a bone.
I don't know. What is a flange, Ian? What's a flange?
Flange, it's the technical round in Bake Off.
OK. Now, why did Sky History have to pull their new reality show about woodworking this week?
There was a man on a programme on Sky. He's got tattoos all over his face. And someone said, you've got the words 88 on your face. You're a Nazi. That's a secret code for Heil Hitler.
Yes, you're absolutely right. The show was called The Chop, Britain's top woodworker. And here's a picture of that man.
And he looked a bit surprised, didn't he?
Well, it's written all over his face.
He said, it's not a Nazi thing. It's not Nazi at all. My father died, aged whatever it was, in 1988. And then everyone felt really guilty. And all the Twitter people who'd been saying, yeah, Nazi, were going, ooh, sorry, dead father, ooh. The end of the story was that his father said, I'm not dead. I didn't die in 1988, and in fact, I haven't died at all. And at that point, I think Sky thought, maybe it means Heil Hitler after all.
This is the news that the terms veggie burger and veggie sausage could be banned by the European Parliament. Also this week, a vegan burger is one contender for a design award at London's Design Museum, along with a 3D model of the COVID-19 virus, which, incidentally, you can get in the gift shop, but only if you stand too close together in the queue for the till. It's now time for the odd one out round. Ian and Aisha, your four are an ancient Peruvian cat, Susie Dent, a statue of Melania Trump, and Prince Andrew. Ian.
There was some evidence revealed today by Maxwell about Prince Andrew and that trial, and the evidence came out, but a lot of it was redacted and had big black boxes over it, so we weren't allowed to read the interesting bits, though we knew what they all said. Has that statue been pulled down by annoyed townsfolk in Slovenia? They've all been redacted this week.
We're looking for more about Image. They've all recently reappeared, except for Prince Andrew, whose postcards have been removed from the gift shop at Balmoral Castle in the wake of Andrew's involvement in the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. A sales assistant at Balmoral explained that the Prince Andrew postcards had been removed because, I'm afraid he's very much on the naughty step. Also this week, a court in America released Ghislaine Maxwell's deposition papers with some notable censorship. Here's one of the redacted pages. To judge by the length of that blank, it looks like Ranulph Twistleton Wickham Fines is definitely in the clear there. This is an old statue of Melania Trump, which was put up in her hometown in Slovenia in 2019. But why was it taken down?
I think that it had been attacked and burnt down. It had been wooden, really wooden, as was the statue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
someone set fire to it. I think we've got a picture of the actual burnt.
Oh, dear.
That looks more like her now.
Yeah. And a new version has now been installed. The new statue is made mostly of bronze, unlike her husband, who is made mostly of bronzer. Melania Trump grew up in the Balkans. Oh, and you think, my God, the horrors that woman has seen. I bet she closes her eyes at night and thinks back to her time in the Balkans just to take her mind off it. Where has Susie Dent reappeared this week following an absence?
I think her new book did not have loads of typos and things, so it got pulled, and now it's back. But it was called Word Perfect, which is not ideal.
Yeah, apparently it was littered with mistakes and typos.
Quite embarrassing for her.
What's gone missing this week that's created tension between Philip Schofield and Eamon Holmes?
Wait.
Tell us now.
Philip Schofield's new autobiography repeatedly spells Eamon Holmes's name wrong. Schofield is reported to allegedly have a fractious relationship with his ITV co-host and has now upset his colleague by forgetting an N in his name. That cut Eamon Holmes, honestly. The Sun added that Schofield's typo has fueled his rift with Eamon Holmes. If there's one thing Eamon Holmes doesn't need, it's fueling. And finally, yes, an ancient Peruvian cat reappeared this week. Where?
Peru.
Yes. How? In what?
Oh, it must have been a cave drawing or something, or
on a hill. Yes.
Oh, it's on the Nazca lines, isn't it?
Completely right.
Yeah, on that plateau. It's a fox.
Researchers believe the giant animals were made as messages to the gods. The message here being, we're not very good at drawing cats. Paul and Matt, here are yours. Rasputin, Wayne Rooney, Tom Baker and Martin Luther.
Tom Baker played Rasputin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
Which is not the answer, but quite interesting.
Tom Baker almost joined a monastery as a youth, wanted to become a monk.
Mm-hmm.
Rasputin considered himself to be a monk, was a kind of holy man. Martin Luther was a monk.
Mm-hmm.
And Wayne Rooney's got a bowl patch just there.
Matt's pretty close here. They were all monks,
they're all monks,
except for Wayne Rooney, who looks like one.
Oh.
It's better than that, because scholars at Liverpool John Moores University have digitally reconstructed the face of a medieval Benedictine abbot that looks surprisingly familiar. Shall we see for ourselves? Here's the monk. Martin Luther famously sparked the start of the Reformation by nailing his 95 Theses to the door of a church.
Dirty devil.
But what have some historians recently claimed actually happened?
There was no door.
Well, they're saying he didn't nail them to the door, that the theses would have been more likely pasted onto the church door because it was more of a notice board. And they went between the posters for a missing dog and a Weight Watchers advert for the diet of worms. Rasputin was known as the Mad Monk for his unusual behaviour. What did he once do every day for 6 months?
Something to do with cold showers or something, or electrocuting himself.
It's pretty weird. He once bragged to his friends he hadn't changed his underwear for 6 months. People out there going, that's not so bad.
6 months?
6 months.
I mean, when did lockdown start?
Why did Tom Baker become a monk at 15?
He had a calling.
What sort of calling?
Hello, do you want to be a monk?
Tom claims he was Randy for martyrdom. In a recent interview, Tom Baker revealed he once tried to murder his mother-in-law with a hoe. I presume he means the actual incident, not a woman of the streets. At which point, the journalist from Gardening Times said, "I think we've got enough now, Tom." And it's time now for the Missing Words round, which this week features its guest publication, Tomorrow's Cleaning, the magazine for the British professional cleaning industry, which, ironically, just sits on the shelf in my house collecting dust. We start with, I'm constantly worrying about what in the fruit and veg aisle in Aldi?
What I'm doing.
Have you ever been in an Aldi?
Yes, they're really nice reverse gear and nice.
I'm constantly worried about getting too close to someone in the fruit and veg aisle in Aldi. This is an article from Tomorrow's Cleaning about the risks of catching coronavirus in the supermarket. The article ends by saying next month's edition will include a case study into how opticians are adapting to new lockdown rules, which will be out just as soon as the writer gets back from Barnard Castle. Next, Boris Johnson gives his father, Stanley, what as a present for his birthday?
Another unidentified grandchild.
Is it Liverpool?
A knife named after him.
COVID-19.
Oh, is it from the cleanliness bag? Is it a wash?
Beavers! This week it was revealed that Boris and his siblings have clubbed together to get their dad beavers for his 80th birthday. So for once, Carrie had a pleasant surprise when she checked Boris's internet history. Next. It's certainly been a tough year for what?
Threesomes. The cleaning industry.
Yes!
I don't understand that. They must have sold so many products, they've all cleaned up. Thank you very much.
Next. Male stripper forced to what after lockdown shuts club?
Make ends meet.
Ironically retrain as a Sheffield steel worker.
The answer is sell his parrot.
Is that what he calls it?
Yeah.
This is a stripper from Manchester who's been forced to sell his beloved parrot, Blue, due to lockdown. It's not been easy for Romeo to sell his parrot. He's a terrible chatterbox and is always spilling his seed everywhere. And the parrot's quite annoying too. Next. Russian cosmonaut uses teabag in space to what?
Make a cup of tea.
No, not that obvious.
Is it poison all the rest of the crew?
To demonstrate the power of the gravitational force in outer space.
Very close. To detect an air leak.
God, you might detect it other ways, like you're choking to death.
An air leak. According to The Sun, the crew patched the breach by plugging it with glue and gauze because the digestive they initially used went very soggy. Next, it's been a good lockdown for cleaning firm called...
Boston Consulting Group.
For cleaning firm called Mrs. Bucket.
Well, we would have been here a long time trying to get that.
I know. Rachel Flanagan, CEO of Mrs. Bucket, explained how proud she was that they had just been given the cleaning contract for Cardiff buses.
Yeah.
As Wales begins to... Whale? No, stop it.
As well begins to reopen. Sounds
Yes.
like the opening line to a David Attenborough documentary. Here in the middle of the ocean. That's David Attenborough, by the way.
As Wales begins to reopen, we are witnessing a return to some sort of normal. Well, you had to bloody jinx it, Rachel, didn't you? And finally, according to a new survey, something is the most dreaded phrase to hear at work.
You'll be sharing an office with Alan Titchmarsh.
Welcome to G4S.
According to a new survey, let's have a chat is the most dreaded phrase to hear at work, along with, can anyone else not smell or taste their lunch? So the final scores are Ian and Aisha have 5 points. Paul and Matt have 5 points. It's a draw. But before we go, there's just time for the caption competition.
BBC unveils new diversity scheme trainees.
So that's what a homosexual gets up to.
Next.
Local rabbit wins biggest pet human prize.
I've decided to call him Eamon.
Want to feel old? This is what Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd look like now.
On which note, we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and Aisha Hazarika, Paul Merton and Matt Ford. And I leave you with news that, after gyms in Liverpool are forced to close due to Tier 3 restrictions, police urge bodybuilders to find other ways to vent their frustration. There's some good news at the Emirates Stadium in North London as Arsenal are allowed to let in their most raucous crowd in years. And in Chelsea at a celebrity craft fair, someone drops the matchstick model of Buckingham Palace that took Prince Charles 5 years to make.